And today, we remember 118 years in San Francisco's great earthquake of 1906. The 7.9 magnitude earthquake caused a lot of devastation and several fires, which took days to put out. City leaders and first responders held a commemoration event at Lotta's Fountain on Market Street. A wreath was laid at the spot, dedicated to the memory of the late Senator Dianne Feinstein and those who died in that devastation. Following the ceremony, there was a procession to the gold-painted fire hydrant on 20th and Church Streets near Dolores Park, where it received a fresh coat of paint. That hydrant was reportedly one of the few still supplying water at the time to fight the fires after the quake, and Sheriff Paul Miyamoto was out that fountain wreath ceremony. Take a listen to why he says this moment is so special.
We need everyone's help when things like that happen, remembering what happened so that we are prepared in the future for what will eventually be another earthquake here in San Francisco is something that's very important to do. This is a great commemoration because it brings back the history. It brings back the resilience that we experienced back then, the resilience that we're experiencing right now.
And San Francisco residents used Lotta's Fountain as a meeting point in the aftermath of the quake. Sean Jitness has a look at some historic photos that can help us appreciate what the city went through.
Scenes from more than a century ago offer a snapshot into the destruction that consumed San Francisco in 1906 from a major earthquake and the fire that started soon after.
I'm born and raised here in San Francisco. I love our first responders. I love our history of San Francisco, and this was a great way for me to contribute back to the city and keep the history of our first responders, all the different departments, alive.
David Cruz is with the Guardians of the City, an organization that preserves the history of first responders in San Francisco.
Remembering our history, remembering the survivors, remembering those who perished is an incredible way for us to remember who we are as a city, how resilient we are as a city as we continue to move forward today.
And as events this week mark 118 years since the 1906 earthquake and fire, reminders of the impact on the city can be found everywhere, including the San Francisco Elks Club Lodge number 3. It was destroyed in 1906 and rebuilt at the location it stands in today, a place at the time to help house survivors. This week, it hosts ceremonies to honor those who helped to protect pieces of that history, and even welcomes artifacts that remain a part of the collection. These events help David to remember the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, which has a lasting impact on him.
I lived here and I was a young child, and it was a scary moment for me, and that's what I think about if when the next one hits, what our community is going to look like, the type of support that they're going to need, and how we're going to continue to rebuild San Francisco.
The ruins of the city captured in photos like these serve as a window into the tragedy at the time. But volunteers like David with the Guardians hope history provides just as powerful a visual for all of us to be prepared in the future.
Well, today we continue to remember the 118 years since San Francisco's great earthquake of 1906. That 7.9 quake caused quite the devastation all across the city. Coming out of that damage, concrete became the key tool to construct buildings, some of which are still around today. Since we live close to the fault lines, we'll never really be out of the woods, and at some point someday, we're going to have another earthquake. Brian Hackney talked to some experts on what your prep should look like when the big one happens.
My close associate, family therapist, Dr. Tara Fields.
Dr. Tara Fields is a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Look at this still as a choice.
Dr. Fields has spent a career asking tough questions.
Are you in or are you out?
I paid her a visit.
Hi.
To see if she could answer one.
Where's your earthquake preparedness bag?
Oh my God, you just put me down the shame spiral, or you just saved my life and my dog's life.
Well, come on in.
Turns out Tara and her husband are kind of prepared.
See the armoire where all my china is? We have the earthquake retrofitting kit with the straps, but it hasn't been installed.
How long have you had the kit?
A few years. I think I should get partial credit for being prepared.
Dr. Fields does have the basics.
Medication, I have cash, I have anything that I would need for 24 hours.
You know where to turn your gas off if there's a gas leak?
Yes, about a year ago, I had my husband go through how do you turn off the gas, how do you, all those major things.
For a more complete list of what Tara should have on hand, seismologist Ross Stein.
Cheers, been too long.
A complete earthquake kit would look like this.
It's got a lot of water, it's got a mask, a cold pack, heat packs, lithium batteries, a flashlight here, a utility knife, you need to be able to cut things.
That looks appetizing.
This brick is food. I'm not going to vouch for the quality, but it's got to be filling because it weighs a ton. And the most important thing is, look, it all fits in a backpack. You throw it in your trunk of your car, and it's there when you need it.
This is all the practical stuff.
Coffee! I gotta have coffee.
You think that you're ready, you think you have all these practical steps.
Oh my God, we're having an earthquake. Wait a minute. Hold on.
But when you're running a lot of stress hormones,
Can you feel that? There go the lights. Oh.
it's very hard to think clearly.
So you should be prepared mentally as well. And there's one big thing that can help. Just take a breath.
It's wonderful for any kind of anxiety. You breathe in for 4 through the nose, you hold for 4, and then you exhale for 8.
Oh, and guess what we found?
Wait a minute, Brian Hackney. You may have saved the day. I had no idea where it was.
Now's the time to get ready.
Well, welcome back. Today, we remember the tragedies and the heroes of the Great San Francisco Earthquake and Fire of 1906. Early this morning, city officials gathered in front of Lotta's Fountain to mark the moment the quake hit.
Well, since then, we've come a long way in preparing for disasters, but the big question, how ready are you?
And joining us this morning is Mary Ellen Carroll. Mary Ellen, thank you so much for coming in here. You're the Executive Director of the Department of Emergency Management with Information, and she is here to help all of us prepare. So first, how prepared is the city for this next major disaster?
Well, we are a lot more prepared than we were 118 years ago and even 34 years ago. Thankfully, due to a lot of the infrastructure improvements we've made in the city and in the region, I feel like we have a lot of resilience that we didn't have before. And frankly, the emergencies, including the pandemic, have really, I believe, prepared us. It's brought awareness to the city about, things can happen unexpectedly and they can last a while. And also, I think it's brought community together.
Nice.
We connected, and that is so important when considering how to be prepared.
Yeah, who knew toilet paper and paper towels would be such a hot commodity? All right, so we have a bunch of supplies in front of us here. So what should we have ready to go in case of this next big emergency?
Yes, well, you have your hand on one of the most important things, water.
Life.
Yeah, water is, you have to think about what really can't I live without, and not what you don't want to, but what you need. And water is important. We will have disruptions to water service. That's a given here in San Francisco. It's the kind of thing that will be restored fairly quickly, but we'll have a lot of water breaks. I used to work for the water department for 8 years, so I'm really familiar with it. Food, you have there one of my most important things. That's actually my battery pack. Yes, so we are very dependent on our phones for information and phone numbers, and even if cell service is out, you can use your phone as a flashlight. It has information on there that you're going to need, and we're going to, want to be able to try to text people when things happen. And so your battery will go out quickly. Medication is another thing.
Yeah, that's important.
If you're dependent, to have extra medication. First aid kit, you see a bowl for your pets. I have 4 pets, and so I have in my garage extra food and a whole, extra carriers so that I can move with my pets fairly quickly.
I keep my stuff in the garage too. I have a question though. I mean, we have a bin that we put all of our earthquake preparedness stuff in. I don't check it very often. I mean, is that something we should also be thinking about doing? Because I'm looking at that there's packs of food and things like that.
May 2028.
Right,
So I recommend we have 2 very convenient twice annual commemorations for 2 earthquakes that happened in San Francisco. Now in April 1906 and in October for Loma Prieta.
Right.
Those are the 2 times of year that I go through my my supplies.
And that's a really good point because the expiration here is April 2023.
Right.
Yes.
Isn't this Gretchen's
Throw this away, Gretchen.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in. Where can we go? Is there a list of all of this in like the next 10 seconds you can tell us?
So sf72.org is our website. It has any kind of information you need and tips on how to make a plan and what to put together.
Mary Ellen Carroll, you make the potential of disaster really kind of feel warm.
Okay,
it's nice to have
wonderful.
your lovely energy on this set.
Calming, right?
Yes, Executive Director of the Department of Emergency Management. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay.